Hi guys, I'm Gasha. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to our coffee times together. Today, of course, we are going to be talking horror again in the channel, but I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite female-driven horror films.
It's coffee time!
Now, throughout the horror movie history, there's been, of course, many female characters. We've had always final girls. We had really strong female characters as well. But I'm here to discuss my favorite female-driven horror films. It doesn't particularly have to have a super strong female character, but what I'm looking for is for a really well explored, a really well developed character that can be really strong in one way or another. So I made a list of 10 films and let's go through them. Before we do though, if you love horror, please consider subscribing to the Coffee Times family. Click on the subscribe button. Click on the notification bell so that you're notified every time that I upload a new video. The first one that I would like to talk to you about is a movie that actually helped me discover one of my new favorite actresses, and that is Anya Taylor-Joy. So probably you already know which movie I'm going to be talking about, and that is The Witch from 2015. It is a period supernatural horror film written and directed by Robert Eggers in his feature directorial debut. The film stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Ralph Ineson, Kate Dickie, Harvey Scrimshaw, Ellie Grainer, and Lucas Dawson. The film is following a family in the 1630s in England, and they have been banished from their Puritan community because of a religious disagreement, and so the family takes off with their stuff and they have to move on. And one of the main characters is the daughter, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and the way that she portrays this young woman, it is just fantastic. Now, this movie is very slow paced, not for everybody, but the ending, it's just so powerful and it is so worth it to sit through the film. The film also explores Puritan repression and believing in witchcraft and the fear of witchcraft back in the day, and it's really magical. Next, let's talk about another movie that I really loved, and it's also directed by a woman, and that is The Babadook from 2014. It's an Australian psychological horror film written and directed by Jennifer Kent. In her directorial debut, the film stars Essie Davis, Noah Wiseman, Daniel Henshaw, Hayley McElhinney, Barbara West, and Ben Winspear. It is based on Kent's 2005 short film Monster. Amelia is a woman that is going through a lot. So she is a widow. Her husband has died in a car accident, so she moves with her kid to a house, and one day they are reading this story called The Babadook. And one of the best things about this film is, of course, apart from Amelia's character and all she has to go through, and how powerful her character is, it's also the Babadook, which is a monster that comes to you if you read about him, if you believe in him. This film explores grief and the character of Amelia, that she does not only has to adjust to her new life as a widow with all the challenges and everything that comes together with motherhood and being a single mom, raising up your kid, but also now this new threat, this new monster that is coming for her kid. Now let's go back in time to a character in a movie that has influenced a lot of other characters that came afterwards, and that is Rosemary's Baby from 1968. It's an American psychological horror film written and directed by Roman Polanski, based on the 1967 novel Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. The cast features Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes, Ruth Gordon, Sidney Blackmer, Maurice Evans, Ralph Bellamy, Angela Dorian, Clay Tanner, and Charles Grodin. This is a movie that deals with heavy topics like Christianity, women liberation, paranoia, all of these things, and it portrays such a strong female character and it was definitely something that would influence other characters to come. We are following a woman that is pregnant, but she believes that the devil wants her baby to perform some sort of rituals with it. It's definitely one of those wonderful classics that you can rewatch anytime. I got this for one of my birthdays when I was really young as a present from my friends, because they knew that I liked horror, and I think this is the only film they could find in the little shop that we had back then. So it's funny how this movie came to me, so it's always kind of like an anecdotic thing for me. It's also one of the first horror classics that I ever watched. The next one is an interesting choice. I think that's where you're gonna think, because this is Halloween from 2018. This is an American horror slasher film directed by David Gordon Green and written by Green, Jeff Fredley, and Danny McBride. It is the 11th installment in the Halloween film series and a direct sequel to the 1978 film of the same name. Jamie Lee Curtis and Nick Castle retake their roles, and this is the direct sequel to the very first film, ignoring all the other sequels. I just ignored them. And I chose this one even though I could have chosen the original one, because the character played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie, she was a very strong female lead and our final girl. However, I chose the new film because we follow a generation of 3 different women. So I thought that was extra powerful for women fighting the evil. It was very successful, and I'm really happy because this is a movie that you need to think it has a female role, which is the main role, and that person is over 55. It doesn't always happen all the time, sadly, in Hollywood. And it was really successful also in the box. And I'm really excited for Halloween Kills. It has been moved 1 freaking year, so we're gonna have to be waiting, but I understand the decision that was made and why it was made. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait until 2021. Next, let's choose Hereditary from 2018, and I kind of was considering either putting this one or Midsommar, because Midsommar also has a female character that has to go through a lot. Okay, let's put it that way, a lot. But obviously Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary was just super strong. Hereditary is an American horror film written and directed by Ari Aster in his feature film directorial debut. After the grandma passes away, the family, Toni Collette, her husband, and 2 kids, are starting to figure out that there was something the grandma was involved about, something that concerns the whole family. It is like this dark secret that it is above them. The film, it is so dark, and everything that Toni Collette manages as a performance in this film, it is stunning, it is amazing. She's such an underrated actress, and you know, her not being nominated for the Oscar for this performance is like, what the F is going on? But there's not too much I can tell you about the story without spoiling it. It is a very different approach to horror. I absolutely loved it, and like I said, Toni Collette in this movie, amazing performance. Next we have one that you might wondering why I'm choosing, and that is The Silence of the Lambs from 1991. It's an American psychological horror film directed by Jonathan Demme from a screenplay written by Ted Talley, adapted from Thomas Harris' 1988 novel of the same name. Now, obviously you will think Silence of the Lambs, the first thing that comes to mind is Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, or maybe Bill, of course. But you have to think that Jodie Foster is playing Clarice, which is a FBI agent that is kind of starting, and she goes through a lot of anxieties that are connected to the fact that she's a woman in this type of investigation that she is performing. And because she wants to figure it out and catch Bill, she starts to have conversations with another serial killer, Hannibal Lecter, and her character is very powerful, and it's also one of the things that make this movie work, the dynamic between her and Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. So I think, you know, the character of Clarice is something that we have not seen too often in movies. Mostly the investigators, FBI investigators, tend to be men, or a man with a companion that is female. So I do think that her character was very powerful for the time. Next, let's talk about a movie that I really enjoyed when it came out, and I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, honestly. It kind of has a little small fan base out there, and that is May from 2002. It's an American psychological horror film written and directed by Lucky McKee in his directorial debut, starring Angela Bettis, Jeremy Sisto, Anna Faris, and James Duval. In this movie, we follow May, and what I really love about it is that we have here a woman that is struggling. She is very shy. She is somebody that is very insecure. She has not had an easy life. She has trouble connecting to strangers and making friends. She's very lonely, and that loneliness is kind of driving her mad. And she decides that if she cannot have a friend, if she cannot find it, she's gonna make it. I really love this movie. I don't know, I think there's something about the character of May that, this is gonna sound super weird, but I always could connect with her. Like, I understood her. Not that I would do what she did, but I understand her, you know. So yeah, I really like this one, and I thought that her character was very powerful. Next one is a movie that I actually watched this year and I absolutely loved, and that is Revenge from 2017. This is a French rape and revenge action horror film written and directed by Coralie Farragut and starring Mathilde Lutz, Kevin Janssens, Vincent Colomb, and Guillaume Bouchedet. So after butchering all of those names, let me tell you what this story is about. We're following Jen, and she takes a trip with her boyfriend, which is a married man she's having an affair with, and they take a plane to go to this super awesome location of a house with a swimming pool and stuff, and they're having this romantic getaway there when two friends from this guy show up, and one of the friends basically rapes her, and that's where she starts taking revenge. What I really like about this movie is that at the beginning you think that our main character, you know, Jen, is this typical blonde, bimbo, naive, having an affair with a married man, you know, not very smart, and then turns into this fierce force that will not stop for anything. I absolutely love this exploration of, you know, of this woman and how she has to turn around everything. And it becomes kind of like a fight for survival. It is very bloody, very gory, and there are moments where things are not believable, they don't look truthful, but still it is a lot of fun. Now let's go back on time and let's discuss a movie that also has a very interesting, powerful, nice exploration of coming-of-age story, and that is Carrie from 1976. It's an American supernatural horror film directed by Brian De Palma, from the screenplay written by Lawrence D. Cohen, adapted from Stephen King's 1974 novel of the same name. The film stars Sissy Spacek as Carrie White, a 16-year-old girl that she basically is not very popular in school, and people always prank her, make fun of her, but then she discovers that she has powers. She has this force, she has this telekinesis, and she is not to be stopped anymore. I also really love this movie. You can also say this is a revenge movie 100%, and I think the character of Carrie, it's just such a good exploration of, you know, teenage angst and coming of age story, but make it horror. Not to mention that her mom is very abusive, so she's not only a survivor of like bullying in school, but also at home, and she manages to release all of these force that she has in her. The last one that I would like to mention is one that just came out last year and made it to my top 10 favorite horror films of last year, and that is Ready or Not from 2019. And it is weird that a horror comedy makes it to my top 10, but it is the performance of Samara Weaving in this film that just sold it to me. It is an American comedy horror film directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. The cast includes Samara Weaving, Adam Brody, and Andy McDowell. In this film, we follow a young, super in love woman played by Samara Weaving that it is excited and terrified at the same time to join her boyfriend's family. They're gonna get married, and at the wedding, at the end of the day, they decide to play a game because the family business is built upon the board game industry. And so they let her choose a game. So of course she pulls the worst card that she could pull, and that is the one for the game of hide and seek. So she thinks, you know, this is just some silly tradition from the family, so she goes to hide, and soon enough she realizes that the rest of the family is looking for her, is seeking her to actually freaking kill her. So this starts a revenge slash survivor story, and the character of Samara Weaving, she goes through so much. You watch her actually going insane. She would have been a great Harley Quinn, now that I think about it, because this character goes into madness throughout the movie. And this movie was so much fun, and I absolutely loved her fighting for her life, being a strong female survivor. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video about 10 female-driven horror movies that I really enjoyed. Let me know down below if you would add any of your favorites to this list. Let's discuss it in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support. It really helps the channel. And if you want to follow me in other social media, as always, the links are down below. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!